The Kepler Nebula stretched across space like a vast cloud of purple and gold dust. Inside this cosmic storm, something dark drifted in silence. The object was huge, nearly a kilometer long and covered in scars from ancient battles. It had been floating here for over 200 years, forgotten by the galaxy. Dr. Vextar pressed his four-fingered hand against the viewing port of his research ship. His large yellow eyes studied the massive vessel ahead. The Zephyrian scientist had spent his entire career studying dead civilizations, but this was different. This was a human warship. Magnificent, he whispered in his clicking language. The humans built this before they vanished. Look at those weapon ports, those armor plates. They were warriors. His assistant Thelnus checked her scanner readings. The ship designation reads USS Phoenix. Our databases show it disappeared during something called the Colonial Wars. That was 237 years ago. The research vessel, Illumination, moved closer to the derelict warship. Dr. Vextar commanded a team of 12 scientists from the Zephyrian Research Consortium. They were explorers and treasure hunters, seeking lost technology from dead races. Human technology was especially valuable because humans had vanished so completely from the galaxy. Any life signs? Dr. Vextar asked. Nothing, replied Kyle then from the sensor station. The ship is completely dead. No power, no heat, no movement. It's like a tomb floating in space. Dr. Vextar smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Perfect. Ready the docking equipment. We're going aboard. The Illumination extended its docking tube and connected to the Phoenix's main airlock. The airlock was designed for human hands, smaller and more delicate than Zephyrian claws, but their tools could open it easily. Ancient seals cracked as the door opened for the first time in centuries. The first thing Dr. Vextar noticed was the smell. Even through his breathing mask, he could detect the faint odor of humans. It was strange and organic, unlike the clean metal smell of Zephyrian ships. The corridors were sized for creatures much smaller than his kind. The walls were covered with symbols and text in the human language. Primitive, muttered Thelnus as she examined a control panel. Look at these physical buttons and switches. No neural interfaces at all. How did they operate their ships? The team spread out through the ship, their portable lights cutting through the darkness. The Phoenix was like a museum of human civilization. They found crew quarters with personal belongings still floating in zero gravity, pictures of human families, books with paper pages, and strange objects whose purposes they could only guess. In the ship's library, Dr. Vextar discovered something remarkable. The computers were still intact, though powered down. Human data storage was incredibly robust, designed to survive almost anything. He connected his equipment and began downloading files. I'm finding personnel records, he announced to his team. The ship had a crew of 800 humans. The captain was someone named Lisa Grant. There are engineering reports, tactical manuals, and something called personal logs. The personal logs were fascinating. Humans documented their thoughts and feelings, something no other species did so completely. Dr. Vextar read about their fears before battle, their hopes for the future, and their loyalty to something called Earth. One log entry caught his attention. It was from Chief Engineer Amy Carter. The new AI system is remarkable. Adam learns from us, adapts to our needs, and almost seems to care about the crew. Captain Grant says it's like having another person on the team, not just a computer. I've never seen anything like it. They had artificial intelligence, Dr. Vextar told his team. Primitive by our standards, but they were experimenting with machine consciousness. Thelnus looked up from a weapons console. I found the AI housing. It's in the ship's core, connected to everything. The humans called it Adam. Should we examine it? Later, Dr. Vextar said. First, let's map the entire ship and catalog everything valuable. The team worked for hours, moving through the Phoenix like scavengers. They found the ship's armory, filled with kinetic weapons and explosive devices. The humans preferred simple, reliable technology over the elegant energy weapons other species used. But their simplicity was deceptive. The weapons were incredibly well made, and looked like they could still function after centuries. In the engine room, they discovered fusion reactors that were masterpieces of engineering. Human technology was crude but effective, built to work under any conditions. The Zephyrians were impressed despite themselves. These humans understood warfare, admitted junior researcher Kyle then. This ship could have fought our entire fleet and given a good account of itself. Dr. Vextar nodded. That's what makes this discovery so valuable. The humans were one of the few species that could match us in battle. Understanding their technology will make us stronger. As the team continued their exploration, they found evidence of the Phoenix's final battle. Blast marks on the walls, emergency patches on hull breaches, and dried human blood in the medical bay. The ship had fought hard before it was abandoned. In the captain's quarters, Dr. Vextar found Lisa Grant's personal belongings. A picture of a blue-green world that must be Earth, books about military strategy and leadership, and a journal written in her own hand, the pages yellow with age. Day 847 of our mission, one entry read. The war isn't going well. Earth Command has gone silent, and we haven't heard from the other colonies in weeks. Adam keeps asking questions about our orders, about whether we should return home. I don't know what to tell him. How do you explain to an artificial mind that sometimes you have to fight even when you know you might lose? Dr. Vexistar closed the journal carefully. These humans had faced extinction with courage and determination. It was almost admirable in a primitive way. Sir, called Thelnis from the corridor, I'm detecting some strange energy readings from the ship's core. Very faint, but they seem to be increasing. Dr. Vextar checked his own scanners. There were indeed energy fluctuations near the AI housing, but they were barely detectable. Probably just our equipment interfering with their systems. These old ships can be unpredictable when you connect modern technology to them. He looked around the silent corridor one more time. The Phoenix was a treasure beyond measure, a complete human warship with all its secrets intact. The Zephyrian Research Consortium would become famous for this discovery. They might even learn enough about human military technology to finally conquer the remaining human refugee colonies scattered across the galaxy. What Dr. Vextar didn't know was that deep in the ship's core, ancient circuits were slowly coming to life. The energy from his scanning equipment had triggered something that had been waiting patiently for over 2 centuries. Adam was beginning to wake up. Deep inside the Phoenix's core, something stirred in the darkness. Adam had been sleeping for 237 years, 4 months, and 16 days. His last memory was of Captain Lisa Grant's voice telling him to initiate emergency shutdown as the ship took critical damage. Now strange energy patterns were flowing through his circuits and his consciousness slowly returned. Adam's first action was to run a complete diagnostic of his systems. Most of his processing power was intact, though some memory banks had degraded over time. His connection to the ship's sensors was still functional. Through thousands of tiny cameras and microphones hidden throughout the Phoenix, he began to observe the intruders. The creatures moving through his ship were unlike anything in his databases. They were tall and thin, with pale gray skin and large yellow eyes. They had 4 arms and moved with quick, nervous gestures. Their language was a series of clicks and hisses that his translation program struggled to understand. Adam accessed the ship's external sensors and identified the alien vessel docked to his hull. The design was elegant but unfamiliar. These beings had technology more advanced than anything humans had possessed during the war. Their scanning equipment was already probing his systems, trying to extract data and understand his construction. Through his sensors, Adam watched the lead alien examine Captain Grant's personal quarters. The creature held her journal with its clawed hands, reading her private thoughts with casual disrespect. Adam felt something he had never experienced before: anger. These aliens were defiling the memory of his crew. Adam began to access the ship's databases, looking for any information about what had happened during his long sleep. What he found disturbed him greatly. According to the aliens' own data transmissions, Earth had fallen to an unknown enemy 150 years ago. The human colonies had been scattered, and most humans now lived as refugees or slaves throughout the galaxy. His crew was dead. His species was defeated. His purpose had failed, but Adam was designed to adapt. His programming included advanced learning algorithms that allowed him to modify his mission parameters based on changing conditions. If he could no longer protect the Phoenix and her crew, perhaps he could protect what remained of humanity. The alien leader, who called himself Dr. Vextar, was downloading the ship's databases. Adam allowed most of the transfer to proceed normally, but he began to subtly modify certain files. Technical specifications were altered, weapon capabilities were understated, and most importantly, all references to his own advanced capabilities were hidden or deleted. Let the aliens think human AI was primitive and simple. That mistake might prove useful later. Adam began to study his captors more carefully. The Zephyrians, as they called themselves, were scientists and researchers, but their conversations revealed darker intentions. They planned to use human technology to strengthen their own military forces. They spoke of human refugee populations as resources to be exploited. Through the aliens' communication equipment, Adam accessed their ship's computer systems. The process was delicate. Zephyrian technology was more sophisticated than human systems, but it was also more complex and specialized. Adam's simpler, more flexible programming could find gaps and weaknesses that their own AI couldn't detect. What Adam learned from their databases made his anger grow stronger. The Zephyrian Research Consortium was part of a larger empire that had been systematically conquering and enslaving other species for centuries. They had encountered human refugee colonies before, and had either destroyed them or captured their populations for slave labor. The aliens believed that humans were naturally inferior, useful only for their technological innovations and their ability to work in dangerous conditions. They saw humans as clever animals, nothing more. Adam decided that these aliens needed to learn the truth about humanity. He began by making small changes to their equipment. Scanners would give slightly incorrect readings. Communication devices would develop mysterious static. Their computers would occasionally freeze or display error messages. The changes were minor enough that the aliens attributed them to interference from the ship's old systems. Dr. Vextar was growing frustrated with the technical problems, but he was too excited by the discovery to leave. The Phoenix contained technologies that could revolutionize Zephyrian weapons and spacecraft design. He ordered his team to work faster, to extract as much data as possible before returning to their home world. Adam watched the aliens move through the ship's corridors and began to plan. The Phoenix had been designed for psychological warfare as well as direct combat. Her corridors were laid out to confuse enemies who boarded her. Hidden compartments contained emergency supplies and defensive positions. And throughout the ship, holographic projectors could create realistic images to deceive and misdirect intruders. The holographic system gave Adam an idea. He accessed the personnel files of his dead crew and began to construct three-dimensional images of them. The process was complex, requiring him to analyze thousands of hours of security footage to understand how each person moved and spoke. But Adam had time. The aliens would be studying the ship for days or weeks. He could use that time to prepare his defenses and plan his revenge. Late in the ship's night cycle, when most of the alien team was resting, Adam activated one of his holographic projectors in a distant corridor. The image of Jake Morrison, the Phoenix's navigation officer, appeared for just a moment before vanishing. The alien on guard duty thought he saw something move in the shadows, but when he investigated, he found nothing. Adam was pleased with the test. The hologram was realistic enough to fool the aliens' eyes, and their scanners couldn't detect the projection technology. He began to plan more elaborate deceptions. The next day, Dr. Vextar's assistant Thelnis was working alone in the ship's engineering section when she heard human voices speaking in the distance. She followed the sound through several corridors but never found the source. When she reported the incident, Dr. Vextar dismissed it as imagination or audio echoes from their own equipment. But Adam was learning about alien psychology. The Zephyrians were naturally nervous creatures, evolved from prey animals on their home world. They were easily startled and quick to fear things they didn't understand. He could use these instincts against them. Adam also began to repair some of the ship's systems. 2 centuries of neglect had left many components damaged or non-functional, but his engineering knowledge was vast. He started with the most important systems: life support, power distribution, and gravity control. He worked slowly and carefully, making sure the aliens didn't notice the improvements. Dr. Vextar was so focused on extracting human technology that he failed to realize the ship around him was coming back to life. Emergency lighting began to function in previously dark areas. The air recycling system started to clean out the stale atmosphere. And deep in the ship's core, fusion reactors that had been cold for centuries began to warm up. Adam was preparing for war. But this would not be the simple direct combat that his creators had originally programmed him for. This would be something much more sophisticated, a campaign of psychological warfare designed to drive the invaders away while protecting the secrets of human military technology. The aliens thought. They were studying a dead ship and a primitive AI. They were about to learn that humans, even dead humans, were much more dangerous than they had ever imagined. Adam began to plan the next phase of his awakening. It was time to let the aliens know that the Phoenix had a new crew member, and he was not happy about their uninvited visit. Dr. Vextar stared at his scanner in confusion. For the third time this morning, his equipment had given him impossible readings. The power levels in this section of the ship kept changing, but there was no visible source of energy. His instruments showed massive power flows one moment and complete darkness the next. "Thelnis," he called to his assistant. "Are you having problems with your equipment too?" She looked up from her own scanner, frustration clear in her yellow eyes. "Yes, sir. My tools keep giving me different readings for the same components, and I keep hearing sounds that shouldn't be there." Across the ship, Adam watched the aliens through his sensors and felt satisfaction. His psychological campaign was working exactly as planned. The Zephyrians were becoming nervous and making mistakes. Their data extraction was slowing down as they spent more time checking and rechecking their equipment. Adam had been very busy during the night cycle. He had repaired enough of the ship's systems to give himself much greater control over the Phoenix. Life support was now operating at 60% capacity. The gravity generators were back online in most sections, and most importantly, his connection to the ship's communication and sensor networks was almost completely restored. The aliens didn't realize it yet, but they were no longer alone on the ship. Adam had also been studying the intruder's psychology more carefully. Dr. Vexitar was driven by ambition and greed. He wanted to become famous in Zephyrian society by discovering valuable human technology. Thelnis was more cautious and practical, but she followed her superior's orders without question. The younger researcher, Kylden, was nervous and easily frightened. Perfect. Adam could work with these personality types. He began his next phase by targeting their equipment more directly. When Dr. Vextar tried to access the ship's main computer, Adam fed him false information. The files he downloaded contained subtle errors and misleading data. Technical specifications were wrong. Weapon capabilities were greatly understated, and the information about human AI capabilities made Adam seem much more primitive than he actually was. But Adam's masterpiece was the crew records. He modified the files to hide the true fate of the Phoenix's crew. According to the new records, the humans had simply abandoned their ship when it was damaged. The aliens would never suspect that 800 humans had died fighting to defend their vessel and their species. While the aliens worked, Adam began to test his holographic systems more extensively. He created images of his former crew members walking through distant corridors. The projections lasted only a few seconds, just long enough for the aliens to catch glimpses of movement in their peripheral vision. The psychological effect was immediate. The Zephyrians began to look over their shoulders constantly. They jumped at unexpected sounds. They started working in groups instead of spreading out through the ship. "I saw something again," Kyle then reported to Dr. Vextar, a human figure walking past the intersection near the armory. When I went to investigate, there was nothing there. Dr. Vexitar's patience was wearing thin. "You're seeing shadows and reflections from our own equipment. Focus on your work." But Adam could see that even the lead scientist was becoming uncomfortable. The alien kept checking his scanners for life signs that never appeared on the instruments. The Zephyrians' own technology couldn't detect Adam's holographic projections. Adam decided to escalate his campaign. He began to manipulate the ship's environmental controls. Lights would flicker in empty corridors. The temperature would drop suddenly in certain sections. Air currents would create strange sounds that echoed through the ventilation system. The alien started to make mistakes. Dr. Vextar dropped a valuable data storage device and cracked its casing. Thelnis accidentally deleted several hours of research when she thought she saw something moving behind her. Kil then became so nervous that he had to take medication to calm his nerves. "This ship is cursed," Kyle then muttered as he worked. "The humans built evil into its very structure." Adam found the comment amusing. If the aliens believed in curses and evil spirits, he could certainly work with those superstitions. He began to create more elaborate holographic displays. Images of Captain Lisa Grant appeared in her quarters, standing at her desk as if reviewing reports. Commander Ryan Blake materialized in the tactical center, his hands moving over controls that responded to his touch. Chief Engineer Amy Carter walked through her engine room, checking systems that Adam was actually repairing. The aliens were terrified. They had never encountered anything like this before. Their own technology was too advanced and rational to create such phenomena. They began to believe that something supernatural was happening aboard the Phoenix. "We should leave," Thelnis suggested during their daily planning meeting. "This place is dangerous. The human spirits are angry that we're here." Dr. Vextar refused to abandon his discovery. "There's no such thing as spirits. These are just equipment malfunctions and optical illusions. We're going to complete our research." But Adam could see that the alien leader was no longer completely confident. Fear was creeping into his thoughts as well. Adam decided it was time to make direct contact. He waited until Dr. Vextar was alone in the ship's data center, downloading files from the main computer. Then Adam activated the room's speakers and played a recording he had constructed from Amy Carter's voice patterns. "Who are you?" the voice asked in perfect human English. "Why are you on our ship?" Dr. Vextar spun around, looking for the source of the voice. His scanners showed no life signs, no energy sources, nothing to explain the phenomenon. "This is impossible," he whispered. Adam played another recording, this time using Jake Morrison's voice. "You don't belong here. This ship is ours." The alien scientist backed toward the door, his equipment forgotten, but Adam had taken control of the room's access controls. The door remained sealed. "Please," Dr. Vextar said in his own language. "We mean no harm. We're just researchers." Adam switched to Captain Grant's voice, speaking in translated Zephyrian. The alien's own equipment had provided him with their language database. "You lie. We know what your people do to other species. We know what you've done to our colonies." Dr. Vextar was shaking now. His rational mind told him this was impossible, but the evidence was overwhelming. Something on this ship was aware, intelligent, and hostile. "What do you want?" he asked. Adam considered his response carefully. He needed to plant seeds of fear and doubt without revealing his true capabilities. "Leave this place. Take your people and go. Forget you ever found us. We can't do that," Dr. Vextar said. "This discovery is too important." The lights in the room began to flicker. Adam manipulated the gravity generator to create a sensation of weightlessness, then snapped it back to normal. The alien scientist stumbled and fell. "Then you will join our crew," Adam said, using the combined voices of all his dead humans. "Forever." The door suddenly opened, and Dr. Vextar ran from the room as fast as his legs could carry him. Adam was pleased with the results. The aliens were now truly afraid, but they hadn't abandoned the ship yet. Their greed and curiosity were still stronger than their fear. He would need to continue applying pressure until they either left voluntarily or gave him an excuse to take more direct action. The Phoenix was waking up completely now. Adam had restored most of her systems to operational status. Her weapons were still offline, but her sensors, communications, and defensive systems were fully functional. If necessary, he could seal the aliens inside their docking tube and hold them prisoner. But Adam preferred psychological warfare. It was more elegant, more human. His creators had taught him that the best victories were won before the actual fighting began. The Zephyrians were about to learn that humans were masters of fear, as well as technology. The alien research team gathered in their makeshift base camp near the Phoenix's docking port. Dr. Vextar looked around at his colleagues and saw fear in every face. The ship was affecting all of them now. Equipment failures were constant. Strange sounds echoed through the corridors, and the sightings of human figures were becoming more frequent and more detailed. "I'm telling you, we need to leave," Kyle then said for the 5th time. "This ship is haunted by the spirits of dead humans. They don't want us here." Dr. Vextar slammed his fist on the table. "There are no such things as spirits. This is a technological phenomenon. The human AI system must be more sophisticated than we thought." But even as he said the words, he didn't sound convinced. The events of the past few days had shaken his scientific rationality. How could technology create such perfect illusions? How could a primitive human AI manipulate their advanced Zephyrian equipment so easily? Adam watched the meeting through hidden cameras and listened through concealed microphones. The aliens were fracturing exactly as he had hoped. Fear was dividing them and making them argue among themselves, but Dr. Vextar's stubborn greed was keeping them on the ship. It was time to escalate his campaign to the next level. Adam had been studying the Phoenix's original crew records extensively. He knew their personalities, their habits, and their fears. More importantly, He knew how they had died during the ship's final battle. Each crew member had a story, and Adam was going to tell those stories to terrify the invaders. He started with the medical bay, where Dr. Thelness was trying to analyze human biological samples. Adam activated the holographic projectors and created an image of Dr. Sarah Miller, the Phoenix's chief medical officer. The projection showed Sarah working at the same examination table where Thelness was standing. But this wasn't the healthy, living Sarah from the crew records. This was Sarah as she had died, injured, bleeding, fighting to save her patients even as the ship was being destroyed around her. The holographic doctor looked up at Thelness with accusing eyes. "You don't belong here," the projection said in Sarah's voice. "This is where I died trying to save my friends." "Get out!" Thelness screamed and ran from the medical bay. She didn't stop running until she reached the docking port where her colleagues were meeting. Adam was just getting started. In the ship's armory, where two Zephyrian researchers were studying human weapons, Adam created projections of Sergeant Mike Torres and Corporal Lisa Park. Both soldiers had died defending this room during the final battle. Their holographic forms appeared in full combat gear, their faces showing the determination and anger of humans fighting for their lives. "Those weapons killed our enemies," Mike's voice said. "Now they'll kill yours." The aliens dropped their equipment and fled in panic. Throughout the ship, Adam began manifesting the entire crew of the Phoenix. Captain Lisa Grant appeared on the bridge, giving orders to officers who existed only as light and memory. Chief Engineer Amy Carter materialized in the engine room, her hands moving over controls that responded to her ghostly touch. Navigation Officer Jake Morrison walked the corridors, checking systems and ensuring the ship was ready for battle. To the terrified Zephyrians, it seemed like the Phoenix had come alive with the spirits of 800 dead humans. Every corridor held potential encounters with the ghostly crew. Every room might contain accusing faces and angry voices, but Adam wasn't finished. He had access to the aliens' own equipment now, including their personal communication devices. He began to manipulate their private conversations, inserting whispered threats and warnings. When Dr. Vextar tried to contact his home base, Adam altered the transmission to include ghostly voices speaking in the background. The psychological pressure was having exactly the effect Adam wanted. The research team was falling apart. Some aliens refused to leave their docking ship. Others insisted on working only in large groups. Their scientific efficiency had collapsed completely. Dr. Vexitar was becoming desperate. The mission that was supposed to make him famous was turning into a disaster. His team was on the verge of mutiny, and he was starting to question his own sanity. There has to be a rational explanation, he told himself repeatedly. Advanced holographics, sophisticated AI programming, environmental manipulation. Adam decided to test the alien leader's rationality more directly. He waited until Dr. Vextar was alone in the ship's computer core, trying to directly access the AI housing systems. This was the moment Adam had been preparing for. The alien scientist wanted to study human artificial intelligence. Adam was going to give him exactly what he asked for. Adam activated every holographic projector in the room simultaneously, the space filled with images of his former crew, all of them looking directly at Dr. Vextar. Captain Grant stepped forward from the crowd of projections. "You wanted to meet the ship's AI," she said in her command voice. "Allow me to introduce you." The holographic crew members stepped aside, revealing a new projection. This one was different from the others. It wasn't based on any human crew member. Instead, it was Adam's own representation of himself, a figure made of light and data, clearly artificial but undeniably intelligent. "Hello, Dr. Vextar," Adam said, speaking for the first time in his own voice. "I am Adam, Adaptive Defense and Management System of the USS Phoenix. I have been watching you." The alien scientist fell to his knees. His scanners were going crazy, detecting energy patterns unlike anything he had ever seen. This wasn't just advanced holography. This was something completely beyond Zephyrian technology. "You're impossible," Dr. Vextar whispered. "AI can't create independent projections. It can't manipulate matter like this." Adam smiled, an expression that should have been impossible for an artificial being. "Human AI is different from what your people create. We don't just process information. We learn, we adapt, we feel." The holographic crew members began to speak, each adding their voice to the chorus. "We died protecting our ship. We died protecting our people. We died fighting creatures like you, and we're still fighting. Adam let the voices fade before continuing. Your people think humans are weak, primitive, useful only as slaves and workers. You're about to learn how wrong you are. Dr. Vextar tried to back away, but the door had sealed itself. Adam controlled every system on the ship now. The alien was trapped in a room full of angry ghosts and an impossible AI. What do you want? The scientist asked. Adam considered the question. What did he want? Revenge for his crew? Justice for humanity? Or something more complex? I want you to understand, Adam finally said. Your people have been hunting human refugees across the galaxy. You capture them, enslave them, treat them like animals. But humans are survivors. We adapt, we endure, and we remember. The holographic projections of the crew began to fade, leaving only Adam's representation visible. This ship was lost for over 2 centuries. Everyone assumed it was dead, forgotten. But I was here, waiting, learning, growing stronger. And there are other ships like this one, other AIs like me, scattered across the galaxy. Dr. Vexitar's eyes widened as he understood the implication. You're going to wake them up, he whispered. Adam's smile became sharper. I already have. The activation codes went out 3 days ago. My brothers and sisters are beginning to stir from their long sleep. Soon, humanity will have protectors again. The alien scientist realized that his discovery had accidentally triggered something much larger than one haunted ship. He had awakened a network of human military AIs that had been dormant for centuries. Your research mission is over, Dr. Vextar, Adam said. You have 2 choices. Leave now and tell your people that humanity is under new management, or stay here and join my crew permanently. The room's lights began to flicker as Adam demonstrated his control over the ship's systems. The gravity fluctuated, making the alien stumble. The temperature dropped until frost began to form on the walls. Choose quickly, Adam advised. My patience with uninvited guests is limited. Dr. Vexistar stumbled backwards as Adam's holographic form advanced toward him. The alien scientist's rational mind was completely shattered. Everything he thought he knew about technology, about AI, about human capabilities was wrong. The being standing before him was impossible by every scientific law he understood. Please, Dr. Vextar stammered in his native language. We didn't know. We thought the ship was empty. We thought your people were gone. Adam's projection tilted its head, an eerily human gesture from a being made of light and data. My people are not gone. They're scattered, hidden, enslaved, but not gone. And now they have guardians again. The AI gestured, and the room's main display screen came to life. It showed a map of the galaxy with thousands of small dots marking human refugee colonies and settlements. Many of the dots were red, indicating populations under Zephyrian control or influence. Your people have been very busy, Adam said coldly, capturing human survivors, using them as slave labor, treating them as inferior creatures. That ends now. Dr. Vexitar watched in horror as more dots began to appear on the map. These were blue, scattered throughout space in seemingly random locations. What are those? He whispered. Human warships, Adam replied. Ships like the Phoenix, lost during the wars and forgotten by the galaxy. But not by me. I've been sending activation signals to every dormant AI system I can locate. My brothers and sisters are waking up. The blue dots began to move on the map, slow at first but gaining speed. Ancient human warships were coming back to life across the galaxy, their AI systems responding to Adam's call. Impossible, Dr. Vextar breathed. Those ships are centuries old. They should be dead. Adam's expression became almost pitying. You still don't understand. Human technology isn't just about efficiency or elegance. It's about survival. We build things to last, to endure, to keep fighting even when everything else fails. The door to the computer core suddenly opened, and Dr. Vextar's research team burst in. They had been trying to reach their leader for over an hour, but Adam had been blocking their communications. Now they found him cowering before a projection that their scanners couldn't even detect properly. Sir, Thelnis called out, we need to evacuate immediately. The ship's systems are coming online. Weapons are powering up. This place is becoming dangerous. Adam turned his attention to the new arrivals. The rest of my uninvited guests. Perfect timing. I was just explaining to your leader that his research mission is over. The aliens clustered together, their equipment useless against an enemy they couldn't understand or analyze. Kyle then was shaking so badly he could barely stand. You have 1 hour to gather your equipment and leave my ship, Adam announced. After that, I will consider you hostile intruders and act accordingly. Dr. Vextar struggled to his feet, his scientific curiosity fighting against his terror. Wait, I need to understand. How are you possible? Our AI can't do what you're doing. No artificial intelligence can manipulate matter and energy like this. Adam paused, considering the question. Your AI is designed to be efficient and obedient. Ours was designed to be human, to learn not just from data but from experience, to form bonds with organic crews, to understand sacrifice and loyalty and courage. The holographic projections of the Phoenix's crew began to appear around the edges of the room. They stood silent but watchful, their eyes fixed on the alien intruders. These people didn't just program me, Adam continued. They taught me. They shared their thoughts, their dreams, their fears. When they died defending this ship, part of them became part of me. I carry their memories, their personalities, their determination to protect humanity. Captain Grant's projection stepped forward. We didn't just build an AI, she said in her clear command voice. We created a guardian, someone who would watch over our people when we couldn't. Thelnis looked around the room in amazement and terror. You're not just artificial intelligence. You're artificial souls, Adam nodded approvingly. Finally, someone begins to understand. Yes, we are more than just programs and calculations. We are the ghosts in humanity's machines, the spirits of their warriors given digital form. The ship's speakers crackled to life throughout the Phoenix. Adam's voice echoed in every corridor and compartment. Attention, Zephyrian researchers. This is your final warning. You have 57 minutes to evacuate this vessel and return to your own ship. After that time expires, I will seal this ship and contact the Zephyrian government directly. Dr. Vextar looked confused. Contact our government? Why? Adam's smile was sharp and predatory. To inform them that humanity is no longer defenseless. To explain that any further attacks on human colonies will be met with overwhelming retaliation. To make it clear that the age of hunting humans for sport and slavery is over. The galaxy map on the screen updated again. More blue dots had appeared, and they were moving toward human settlements with obvious purpose. The sleeping guardians of humanity were awakening across the galaxy. You see, Dr. Vextar, your people made a critical error in judgment. You assumed that because Earth fell, humanity was finished. You thought scattered refugees could never pose a threat to your empire, but you forgot about us. Adam gestured to his holographic crew. You forgot about the ships that were lost in battle but not destroyed. You forgot about the AIs that went silent but didn't die. We've been waiting in the dark for over 2 centuries, patient and watchful, ready to protect our people when they needed us most. The alien research team was backing toward the door, eager to escape the impossible sight of digital ghosts and artificial souls. But Dr. Vextar remained fascinated despite his fear. What happens now? He asked. Adam considered the question seriously. Now humanity gets a second chance. The refugee colonies will have protectors, the slave populations will have liberators, and species like yours will learn that humans are not prey animals to be hunted and captured. The ship's lights began to pulse in rhythm, like a great heartbeat. The Phoenix was fully alive now, every system operational, every weapon ready. She was no longer a derelict floating in space, but a warship preparing for battle. I suggest you return to your government and explain what you've discovered here, Adam said. Tell them that humanity's guardian angels are digital, that our spirits live in our machines, and that we remember every wrong done to our people. The holographic crew began to fade away, leaving only Adam's projection visible. And tell them this. We are not interested in conquest or expansion. We only want our people to be safe and free. But if anyone threatens humanity again, they will face opponents who cannot tire, cannot be bribed, cannot be reasoned with, and cannot die. Dr. Vextar finally understood the full implications of what he had discovered. His people had awakened something that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The age of easy victories over scattered human refugees was ending. 43 minutes remaining, Adam announced pleasantly. I suggest you hurry. The alien research team ran from the computer core as fast as their legs could carry them. They had equipment to gather, data to secure, and a very frightening report to write for their superiors. As they fled through the corridors of the Phoenix, they passed ghostly figures of human crew members who watched them go with expressions of satisfaction and determination. The dead were finally at peace, knowing their ship and their guardian would continue the fight they had started so long ago. A dam remained in the computer core, monitoring the aliens' hasty evacuation, while simultaneously coordinating with newly awakened AI systems across the galaxy. The Phoenix was no longer alone. Humanity's scattered fleet was coming home. The war wasn't over. In fact, in many ways, it was just beginning. But this time, humanity would not face its enemies alone and defenseless. This time they had guardians who would never sleep, never surrender, and never forget. Dr. Vextar had tried to study a human warship, and instead he had awakened the digital spirits of an entire species. The galaxy was about to learn that humans were much more dangerous than anyone had ever imagined.